you still need the pledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone is here. Ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We had some technology issues, but we will now call to order at 9:41 the Board of Supervisors meeting for Trinity County. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Supervisor Lutweiler.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now have presentations, receive an update from the U.S. Forest Service representatives regarding matters of interest to Trinity County. Good morning.
Morning. Who is this person?
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be back in Trinity County and back in my regular job as your district ranger. So I'm thrilled to be here. Wanted to let you know I came out Friday and drove out to South Fork Mountain to go look at a project we have out there, Lemonade Springs, which is the West Side Plantations plus some things on South Fork Mountain. And then I drove out to the pilot project, which is near Hayfork, and saw work being implemented there. Traveled over to the peak emergency area, saw the work going on there, and then zipped up to Trinity Center to see people enjoying the lake. So I used to tank of gas covering part of Trinity County, but thoroughly enjoyed being back on this side of the hill. All right. Implementation, as I said, good progress is being made on the pilot project near Hayfork. If you haven't got a chance to drive out and check that out. The peak emergency area is also active and continuing to implement these critical fuels reduction work. On the Hayfork district, I wanted to let you know many of the roads are suffering trees across it from the fires in the past, and we've got our dozer is out working diligently trying to get those roads open again. So a lot of work going on out there. Trails work and backcountry work continues in both the Trinity Alps and the Yola Bowl Middle Eel Wilderness. So we've got our pack stock out supporting them. The fuels reduction work continues around Lewiston and Pettyjohn. If you've been around Trinity Down Boulevard, you've seen a number of piles and things. So that work is well underway and starting to wrap up, and we'll be looking to take care of those piles this winter. Road work on about 10 miles of the 47 road is underway. So there's some delays there. If you expect to be, taking the back roads across, you're going to run into some road work there. The 47 road is the first chunk we're doing. We also have work scheduled for the 16 road and the 60 road. Planning. South Fork Mountain planning was complete. So we're thrilled with that. Starting to look at putting some of that together and getting implementation underway. Junction City Community Risk Reduction Project is moving forward. That project's being planned by the Watershed Center for us, and they're doing great work. The Weaverville Fuel Break is moving forward as well here right around the community, working with Kelly Sheen and his staff at the Trinity County RCD. Big Ranch Community Risk Reduction is continuing to move through the process. We're finalizing the draft BA with our forest wildlife biologist to get that submitted to Fish and Wildlife Service. So we've got some final reviews there before we get that submitted. The Wildwood Project, working with Trinity River Lumber on a project out at Wildwood. They're doing great work out there. They hosted a meeting last week, I believe, or the week before, that had the Forest Service, their environmental consultant, and the Fish and Wildlife Service was also there. So that was a very productive meeting. My next meeting with the Trinity County Collaborative Group is on 8/21. That'll be a field trip, so I'm looking forward to that. I want to thank Roy Jones for coming over and doing such a great job here in Trinity County. Him being from here, I think, was beneficial. He knew his way around and knew the concerns to our local communities here. So as I said, I'm back as the district ranger on the west side. Lois Shoemaker is currently the detailed forest supervisor. Lois worked for us in the past as our ecosystem staff officer, so she's very familiar with the Shasta Trinity National Forest. And Kelly McElroy, who typically is our current eco staff officer, has detailed into the deputy forest supervisor role. And we're actively trying to get somebody back behind Kelly as the eco staff officer. The planning that I listed, just want to kind of give you an idea of the projects I listed, add up to approximately 78,000 acres worth of ongoing planning that's currently underway and some of it nearing completion. And while that's considerably more than we've done in the past, it's not lost on me or on us that one fire, specifically the Monument Fire, was 300,000 acres. So we have plenty of work to do ahead of us, but wanted to give you some kind of an idea of the scale of the work that's going on. Our next projects that are going to be coming up that you'll start to hear about is going to be the Crossroads project. It's a CE, categorical exclusion, that we'll be doing at the intersections of 3 and 36. So over there, we'll be doing a CE over there for a fuel break. Also, after that and we've started some of the surveys, and those will get started. They'll get started soon. Is the Hayfork project, which will be somewhere between 40 and 50,000 acres. So we're looking forward to getting that large project underway as well. This year will be spent doing surveys to get an idea on the botany and the owls and arc out there ahead of time before we actually start the planning. Fire, we are supporting the fires in the Pacific Northwest. We've got some crews and things up there helping out. As you've seen, the fire season up there is awful and very reminiscent of some of the things that we've seen around here locally. So we're happy to be able to support that. Also wanted to let you know here locally that we've been using a lot of extended staffing, including 24-hour shifts when the fire danger is at its peak. So really appreciate our fire staff working really hard to protect our communities. Fuels work is ongoing. This fall, we'll be going back out to Hayward Flat and Tannery. I know those are important. We're going to be doing that fuels work out there and getting that cleaned up. The High and Palm area will continue to get work done out there, as we'll be continuing through the summer working in the peak emergency area. And then we'll be getting started out at South Fork Mountain. So that's as much as I could catch up on in a day being back. But I am just super pleased to see all the work being done. Instead of talking about places we're going to go do work, it was really nice to swing through Trinity County and see all the work getting done. Some of it by the Forest Service, much of it done through our partners. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Good Neighbor Agreement. I thoroughly enjoyed driving the Lake Forest Road that is now rocked thanks to that wonderful agreement that we have. So thank you to the county for all of that support. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Oh, but thank you. And I did have a town hall last week. And usually the roads aren't a big part of my town hall, but they were thankful. People noticed what was going on and generally pretty happy with everything. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment? No? Thank you very much. I
All
hope
right.
all your crews stay safe. It was a little scary for the folks at Siskiyou, but I assume that is working its way through the legal system. But goodness sakes, I spent a lot of time when I worked for the NRCS out in the woods by myself driving around. And when I heard about the Forest Service crews up there getting abducted, that was pretty scary, but I'm glad that they're fine. And our crews are probably a little more cautious now.
I will say that we really, really appreciate the outpouring of support, the community support that we received here locally. It was very, very much appreciated and very much noticed. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you. You guys stay safe out there. We will now have another presentation, receive an annual update from SMART Workforce Center, Representative Emily King, regarding their workforce development programs. Hello. Good day. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting us. I do want to clarify, Emily is not going to be presenting today. Betsy Ray, the program director for SMART, will be presenting. And joining me is Heidi Miller, who's our community workforce specialist based out of Trinity County. And then back here is our interim executive director for the SMART Workforce Center, Christine Zuazua, who's also the executive director for AFWD, our partnering agency under our 11 County Consortium. So we're happy to have her joining us today. And thank you again for letting us come and present. We're going to be talking a little bit about what we did last fiscal year to give you some updates on that and just kind of highlighting some of our partnerships that we have going on in Trinity County. There we go. Okay. So I wanted to do just a quick kind of recap of the Smart Workforce Center because I know it's been a couple of years since we've done a presentation. We've been serving Shasta County since 1979. We began serving Trinity County in 2008 and then began serving Del Norte County and Siskiyou County in 2020. So we serve 4 counties in Northern California. The funding that we receive is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act funding that comes down through the Department of Labor. Then it gets trickled down through EDD, the state, and then goes to our consortium of 11 counties through NORTEC, which is a workforce board and governing board that combines the resources to fund our different counties, and SMART receives funding under the WIOA program to offer services in our communities, including the 4 counties that I just mentioned. This is a little bit of information about NORTEC. NORTEC serves 11 counties, SMART's 4 counties, a county in Tehama County, and then there's 6 counties under AFWD where we receive funding for the Workforce Innovation Opportunity. This is Heidi in the picture. She is located downtown. We are co-located with Shasta College, which has been a great resource for us. We're really close to Health and Human Services, the Rancheria. It's a great little space for us to offer services in the community. We're open Monday through Thursday. Fridays we are by appointment. It allows Heidi some time to get out and do some marketing and outreach to businesses, catch up on paperwork, because she is our fully staffed person in the Trinity office. So we appreciate her being there and welcoming to the community members that come in and see her. SMART receives under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act 3 core grants every fiscal year. Those grants include our adult program, which serves individuals 18 and over that are looking for work. So it can be individuals from all walks of life that are looking for assistance. We also have our dislocated worker program, which also serves 18 and over individuals that are eligible and receiving or have exhausted their unemployment insurance and are looking to re-enter into the workforce, or they could have been laid off or let go from a business layoff or a business closure. So we're really looking to identify those individuals and help support them. And then additionally, we have our young adult program, which focuses specifically on out of school 18 to 24-year-olds that are really looking to get their first job, first work experience, and we're really trying to help them make connections within the communities to find that work experience. And then additionally to those 3 core grants that we receive, we also receive the Hire Grant, which works specifically with the justice impacted community that are currently on parole or probation. And in Trinity County, Heidi has a great relationship with Trinity County Probation, where we actually receive direct referrals from Trinity County Probation to work and help those individuals in our communities. And she'll talk a little bit more about that in a slide coming up. And additionally, we also receive funding through Trinity County Health and Human Services. There's 2 programs that we receive funding for, which is the Job Readiness Program. So those are direct referrals that we get from the county where we're working with them, Heidi is, one-on-one to help them create a resume, update their resume, help them just get ready to enter the workforce. That could be them attending workshops, doing some mock interview preparation, and just doing coordinated services, also one-on-one assistance with job search and how to apply for and look for jobs. Additionally, we received the Expanded Subsidized Employment Program funding, and that's where we actually are taking that next step with those individuals that were in job readiness that are now ready to look for work. And Heidi does a tailored approach to reach out to businesses in the community and try to play, for lack of better words, matchmaker with the businesses and the individuals that are referred under this program and try to get them placed in structured paid work experience. And she really does a great job of looking at their previous work experience, their education, kind of what their interests are, and really trying to take a tailored approach and looking at businesses and what their needs are to do a successful match for those individuals. She also really takes the time to do meet and greets with those employers, kind of a soft handoff to help them through the interviewing process, because sometimes they haven't had the opportunity to interview for a job in a while. And so she's really there helping and guiding and supporting them. And then once they're placed, she also does check-ins with them every 2 weeks with the employer and with the client just to make sure everything's going well and monitors their progress. Anywhere, they can be placed anywhere from 3 months all the way up to 6 months, depending on kind of what that contract is under their program with Trinity Health and Human Services. Some of the services under our core grants that we can provide is job search assistance, helping them update a resume, create a resume. We can also help with what we call supportive services. So interview clothing, if somebody has an interview lined up, work clothing if they do get a job offer, some limited transportation assistance, and some limited housing assistance. We also can help people through two different types of training programs. One is more what we call occupational skills training, more educational-based training, where maybe they're doing a short-term certificate program at Shasta College or Institute of Technology, and we're really trying to get them into certificate programs where they can then enter the workforce after that training and find self-sufficient jobs and career opportunities. The other way that we can help individuals is through work-based learning opportunities where we actually connect with employers and we can help employers offset training costs with wages, anywhere from 50% of the wages during a training program and sometimes up to 100% of wages while they're training that individual. Anywhere from 30 days all the way up to 6 months, we can kind of offset those wages for employers that are hiring someone on that's eligible and enrolled in our programs, and they're investing that time into training them. Some of the statistics for Trinity County in the 25-26 fiscal year, we received 26 individual visits into the job center at Trinity. So Heidi was there welcoming them in, pointing out the job board, letting them know what employers were hiring, helping them create resumes, update resumes, and just helping them get ready to re-enter the workforce. Some program data. This chart kind of shows the individuals that we enrolled into the variety of different grants that we offer. If you can see there, we had 40% of our enrollments tied directly to our young adult program, which serves 18 to 24-year-olds. Heidi has done a really great job with connecting with younger individuals in the county to really kind of help them enter the workforce. So her focus this last year is resulting in a higher enrollment for those individuals. Additionally, 27% of the enrollments were through our expanded subsidized employment partnership with Health and Human Services. So she served a lot of individuals through that program. And then 17% was our higher grant program, justice involved individuals that were direct referrals from county probation. And then our adult program and our dislocated program were 10% and 6%. Some additional information on Trinity County Partnership for Expanded Subsidized Employment. We received 146 referrals since the contract origination. We've had this contract with Trinity County since 2022. So that's quite a few referrals for a smaller county. This last fiscal year, Heidi served and worked with 22 participants that were referred over through either job readiness or the Expanded Subsidized Employment Program. And she helps them with resume assistance, mock interviewing, preparation to re-enter the workforce, and connections with employers for work-based learning. The higher grant that I mentioned, we received 5 referrals. Actually, we enrolled 5 participants through referrals from Trinity County Probation, which has been a great relationship that Heidi has been nurturing over the past couple of years. So she wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, so I work closely with the Trinity.
If you'll step over to the mic,
Oh,
please.
sorry,
Then that
yeah.
way everyone can hear. Thank you.
Of course. I work closely with your Trinity County Probation Department, and I just want to give the utmost compliments to the staff at the County Probation Department. Our collaboration with the individuals that we're both serving, dealing with highly barriered individuals, the collaboration is with much gratitude. We work very well together in ensuring the success of these individuals and helping them either with temporary work, which may lead to employment opportunities, or with training. For instance, the gentleman that is on the screen went through the Fire Academy in the Shasta College program and is now working with CAL FIRE as a full-time permanent employee. So just again, want to commend the staff at the probation department. They have a lot of heart. They have a lot of concern for these individuals, and it's been a great pleasure working with them in providing services for these individuals.
And then we also wanted to highlight some employer partnerships. It was kind of like we planned it. Tara was here earlier. we didn't know that she was also going to be presenting, but a few years ago, we actually kind of just knocked on the Forest Service's door and we actually met with Tara and we were like, hey, we've got this National Dislocated Worker Grant going and we really want to see if we can partner with you. And Tara was like, yep, let's get it going, and connected us with other individuals at the Forest Service. And so since 2020 and through 2025, we had the National Dislocated Worker Grants, which were grants that were established based off of natural disasters, as Tara had mentioned, the fires, also the storms that had happened during those timeframes. And so those grants allowed us to place temporary workers with the Forest Service to do cleanup and repair on public lands that were damaged by the fires and the storms. So it was a really great opportunity and a great partnership to get individuals from the community kind of back working and also being able to network with the Forest Service. We actually had a few individuals get hired on with the Forest Service after that program, so it's really great to see them now working in full-time positions. With that partnership with the Forest Service, we were also able to expand our contract with them. And so we have a more comprehensive contract with them where we can actually place individuals into work experiences through our other grants that really allows individuals an opportunity to see what it looks like to work with the Forest Service, work in those positions, and then the Forest Service actually works with them to help them apply for seasonal positions that could then lead to permanent positions down the road. So we're really excited to have this expanded contract with them and continue to grow our partnership with them. So we just wanted to highlight that partnership with the Forest Service. Additionally, SMART has a business services team that connects with employers to help them with a variety of different human resources services. But our main focus is really to help employers fill positions. So as I mentioned earlier, we kind of play matchmaker with individuals that are looking to hire or looking to find jobs and employers that are looking to hire. And the best opportunities that we help with employers is helping them offset those wages during the first 30 days, sometimes all the way up to 6 months of anywhere from 50% of the wages to 100% of the wages. We also can give them resources on tax credits for hiring individuals that meet certain qualifications for those tax credits. So Heidi works really well with the community here to touch base with employers and let them know about all the resources that are available through the SMART Center. So here's a little bit of information about the businesses that we served in 25-26. Heidi and the business services team reached out to 39 unique businesses in Trinity County. And within those businesses, 306 services were provided to those businesses. So services could be a variety of different things. That could be us posting a job for them. That could be us helping them recruit and fill positions. That could be helping them attend a job fair where they can meet with individuals that are looking for employment. So it's a variety of different services that we can provide to those businesses depending on what their needs are and how we can help support them. We also have an online job board where we can post jobs for free for businesses, which gets their job postings out there to a more variety of individuals that are looking past just Trinity County. With our 11 county consortium, this job board posts out through that 11 county consortium. So there's more opportunities for recruitment to fill some of those harder to fill positions. And then we're always open online. We have a comprehensive website where employers and job seekers and partners can refer individuals over to our services. And does anybody have any questions?
Members of the board, anyone have questions or comments? Supervisor Leitweiler?
Well, first of all, thank you. That was a really terrific presentation. You really covered a lot of ground, but in a way that was very digestible. And I think it's great for us to be reminded of all these great services and to see how our community is getting engaged with it. And Heidi, thank you especially for your work to make that a reality. We've seen that through other things. Those services can be there, but you gotta, sometimes getting the horse to the water trough is a thing. So thank you for that. And from my role in Nortec, I'm just really thankful for the work that you guys do and how you do it. We feel very well served and supported here. Thank you.
Very much. A pleasure.
Any further questions or comments? Well, thank you very much for all you guys are doing. I know sometimes not everybody needs you to not everyone needs like training wheels on their bike, but sometimes it's nice if you can hold the seat for a minute until they get momentum. And so I just really appreciate you guys being kind of the seat holders because they're ready to ride. They just need that encouragement to get balance. And so thank you for the work that you're doing. And I know that it's going to benefit people. I think one of the best things we can do for others is believe in them. And so thank you for being the ones that believe in them and helping them to gain traction. Good work.
Thank you.
We will now move to public comment. This time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda or within the consent calendar. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. When addressing the board, please state your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be conducted on matters not listed on the agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. Do we have any public comment in the room?
Good morning, Chair Supervisors. Lisa Wright. On July 29th, I submitted a DEIR, the Draft Environmental Impact Report, comment number 1. There'll be several more comments submitted before the deadline, but it's concerning a foundational problem with the general plan update. There is no single clear source of truth identified in the project analyzed under the DEIR. The county published a complete draft general plan in August of 2024. After the June 10th and 11th joint study sessions, oral direction was supposed to be incorporated into the revised October 2025 materials, but the county has not published a red line or a change matrix showing how the direction was incorporated. An analysis of the YouTube transcript actually shows potentially it was not completely incorporated. The general plan has since appeared through separate elements, community plans, maps, and later revisions. It remains unclear which precise versions were provided to the consultants and actually analyzed. As the versions have changed over time on the website, and it's not one single document, it's listed as several different elements, some of which have not come before you and have notations such as approved by the Board of Forestry. Without a fixed draft project description, the public cannot determine whether the DEIR analyzes the same general plan that the county intends to adopt, or whether subsequent changes received environmental review. Now, the board gave a guiding principle resolution, which makes this even more urgent. It directs the Planning Commission not to use future zoning code review to reconsider general plan policies or land use designations, but the general plan has not yet been adopted. So you're kind of in a circular situation. And the county cannot defer unresolved general plan concerns to the zoning process while simultaneously directing the Planning Commission not to reconsider them during that process. You can see how that's kind of cyclical. I respectfully ask the board to agendize this topic for discussion at the next meeting and at a minimum to direct staff to publish first, a fixed dated index identifying every document, element, community plan, map, et cetera, constituting the project analyzed in the DEIR. We don't have that. Second, the precise versions that were used. And third, a change matrix so we can see that the June 10th and 11th direction was actually incorporated into that October 2025 version. Then give the Planning Commission reasonable time to review these discrepancies. There's going to be more coming in future comments, but I really want this board to be informed and knowledgeable. I don't want it to just to lie with staff and you be asked to approve something that hasn't received this additional thoughtful review, especially when errors and things are coming up that aren't clear. I will just mention real quickly as well the Trinity County Environmental Health. Currently, we understand the director is out on indefinite leave. I thought maybe something would be on consent. We had heard that perhaps there were services being provided by Tehama County, so I'm hoping a report out will provide some guidance there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment in the room?
Good morning, Chair, Supervisors, staff. Dan Trujillo, Weaverville. So I want to thank the board for taking seriously the concerns that were raised surrounding the guiding principle resolution at the July 7th board meeting. The item was pulled from the calendar, it was discussed publicly, and ultimately it was adopted by the board after deliberation. So that discussion demonstrated how public deliberation and representative government can and should work. The conversation also revealed something that I think is worth noting. So several supervisors spoke out about the importance of being available to the public through emails, phone calls, individual meetings, et cetera. And I agree with this, that accessibility is one of the strengths of our local government, and it's particularly important here in Trinity County. So we should maintain that accessibility. But I would respectfully suggest that accessibility and public deliberation are not the same thing. Private conversations allow residents to communicate with their elective representatives, which is important. Public deliberation allows the community to hear competing viewpoints, observe the board's reasoning, and respond to one another's ideas and develop a shared understanding of why public decisions are being made. Both of these mechanisms are essential and neither substitutes for the other. As our county continues to work on the zoning code, housing and economic development, wildfire recovery, and other long-term issues, I hope that we can think about the ways to build opportunities for public deliberation a little earlier in the legislative process. So one simple idea would be this: when the county develops guiding principles, strategic priorities, or foundational policy documents, consider bringing them forward first as discussion drafts and allow at least one meeting for focused public review before returning them for final action. And I also want to acknowledge that acknowledge what I believe is a legitimate concern, that local government has finite staff time, finite resources, and an obligation to remain efficient. I share that concern. My suggestion is not to add another step to every agenda item or every controversial issue. It's a narrow recommendation for the relatively small number of decisions that establish the framework for future policy decision-making. So in that sense, this isn't about slowing government down. It's about sequencing public participation differently, moving a conversation that already happens to a point where it can be more constructive. One additional deliberative step at the beginning of a major legislative process may actually reduce misunderstanding, conflict, and repeated debate later. I don't offer this suggestion because I believe every public recommendation should ultimately be adopted. I offer it because democracy depends on more than opportunities to speak. It depends on opportunities for citizens to exchange reasons with one another and for elected officials and appointed officials to explain publicly how competing concerns were weighed in reaching a decision. Thank you for your service and thank you for your attention.
Is there any further public comment in the room? Seeing none, do we have any online?
Skylar?
Hello, this is Skylar Fisher with the Trinity County Resource Conservation District as the Trinity County Fire Safe Council Coordinator. I just wanted to call in to share that the Fire Safe Council is currently taking nominations for the 2026 Fire Safe Trinity Award. So if there's anyone in your neighborhood or community that you think is a leader or doing great work in improving your community or neighborhood's fire resiliency or fire safety, please call in and cast your vote. So you can reach me at the RCD office or send me an email at sfisher, spelled like the pastime, at tcrcd.net. Or you can also log your vote on our firesafetrinity.org website, or we're very modern, our Fire Safe Trinity Facebook page. So we're really trying to get as many nominations we can and really celebrate all of the fantastic volunteer and community work that is happening to increase our community wildfire safety. So we will be taking those nominations through August 14th. And then from there, we will tabulate the top 3 folks that receive the most votes, push it off for a top 3 vote, and that will be accepted from August 17th to the 26th. And the winner for the 2026 Fire Safe Trinity Award will be announced at our August 27th regular Fire Safe Council meeting. Everyone, is invited to attend our monthly Fire Safe Council meetings. They are the fourth Thursday of each month, except when it's on Thanksgiving and Christmas, at 1 p.m. at the Trinity County Resource Conservation District Conference Room or available on Zoom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any-
Adrian?
Hey, thank you. Good morning, Chair, Supervisor, staff. I just wanted to call in and with a couple words of thanks, gratitude to the work that the county has done recently along the lines of cleaning up some troublesome properties, particularly the one in Hayfork known as the compound. It is such a weight off of many Trinity County residents' backs to see that happening and to see that project being completed. I think it's super important to note the impact that blight like that has, not only on like real estate value and those sorts of things, but on the world that our children grow up in. And so I'm just eternally grateful. I don't know why it took so long, but I will stick with the gratitude for now. I just really, it's such a relief. It is being felt community wide. Thank you, Supervisor Gogan. Thank you, CEO Tuthill, and everybody else who is involved. It is so nice to be able to drive down Morgan Hill Road and not have to see that place anymore. Thank you.
Very good. Further?
I have no additional raised hands.
Okay. Well, thank you for all of those public comments, and we will now close the public comment period. And move to department head reports out. Do we have any department head reports in the room? Good day.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Tim Saxon, Sheriff. Here we are in August. Wow, this year is flying by. Just a couple of quick things to update you on our progress with the radio emergency communication system.
Yay.
As you were briefed at the last meeting, I believe, the duplexers were installed. So far at this point in time, my feedback on that is that the service has improved quite a bit. We have not received any negative replies from any of the users of the system at this time. I reached out to a couple of fire department individuals, and they have confirmed that the reception has improved, the page outs have improved. All the fire department personnel have been advised and given paperwork to note any discrepancies or negativity and report that back in writing to the sheriff's office, to our consultant, to be able to track and keep information on file so we can report that to our technicians with Day Wireless, so that we can move forward and actually track any type of deficiencies in the system and try and fix those. The new base radios have been ordered, as you've been told in the past, and they should be here this month and installed this month. And so we're looking forward to that to improve, again, the radio situation. Along with that, I'm told that when those do go in, because they're a new type of radio, we will be able to actually remove a couple of the antennas that are up on the system right now. And that separation by changing out those radios will also improve the dispatch capabilities within the Oregon Mountain repeater system. So we're very excited about that. It should be this month. I don't know exactly when, but that's what I'm being told is August. From personnel standpoint, we've had a couple people in the correctional field that have left employment. We've completed testing again. We're looking forward to hiring a couple people. To let you know, we are continuing to accept applications. So spread that out to your constituents that we are accepting applications. We're also putting that out on the appropriate recruitment sites. From our patrol deputy standpoint, our allocated positions have been filled. We still have one in the academy, and we have 4 deputies that are in training or soon to be in training. At this point in time, that's completes my update for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Are there any questions or comments from the board at this time? No? Thank you very much for working
you.
so diligently and consistently on the communications issue. I know that sometimes it's probably pretty tedious, but I do appreciate that, and I know everyone does. So thanks for hanging in there.
Absolutely. It's an extremely important project. It was a big undertaking. It was a big lift. I thank the board. I thank CEO Tuttle for giving us at least some of the resources that we had been able to get at this time. There are more resources that are going to be needed in the future. We all know that. I'm just happy at this point in time we have what we need to begin this step. I have been in conversation, I should have mentioned this, with Forest Service with regard to the Hayfork Bali site. That is going to be an interesting move forward because of the nature of the site. And I previously gave you some history on that going back to the 50s when it was an Air Force radar site, and how we move forward on that and how it got put onto the Forest Service and so on and so forth. So my discussions on that at this point in time are how we can move forward cooperatively to work on getting at least some temporary repairs to that facility to protect our equipment until we can move forward and go from that stage. So,
Well,
we're
as
moving
you move forward in that, perhaps Supervisor Cox has such a good working relationship with the Forest Service up to our region. If there's anything in that realm, or if you need us to go even further up to the chiefs to get permissions or look for ways to work around some of those barriers that might be in place, please feel free to reach out. And I have connections because of public lands, and I know that Supervisor Cox does as well. So perhaps as a team, we can work through some of those.
I appreciate that. I have previously had conversations with Rachel Berkey, and I just met last week with Lois Shoemaker. So
Good.
I again brought that up to her. So
And then we can also write letters from the board if you need that in support of the project or something of that nature.
I appreciate that.
So
right now, we're still in the talking phase at this particular level to see where we need to go from there.
Okay, well, just remember, we're here to help you. So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other department heads in the room?
Good day, Chair, Supervisors, Drew Plabani, Director of Community Development Department. A couple topics. I'll try and keep it brief. I'd already planned to address this dynamic, but responding to public comment, we've been dealing with a staff shortage essentially over the last few weeks. And so more recently, I guess last week, it was executed an intergovernmental service agreement between Trinity and Tehama County. When we realized that we were faced with that unexpected staff shortage, we quickly reached out to various groups, and CAO Tuthill, thank you for reaching out to the adjacent county CAOs, and Tehama was willing to step up and enter an agreement with us to provide us a registered environmental health specialist to support our ongoing permits and licenses. So a little bit of background there for you. Essentially, wells, septics, and food licenses require a sign-off by a registered environmental health specialist. Currently, we only have one registered environmental health specialist on staff. We have been working to increase that staff capacity. So in the last few weeks, we had 2 additional staff members from environmental health take the test to become registered environmental health specialists. And we've started, engaging with Tehama. We have a meeting with them this week, and so I don't expect any further delays in permit processing related to that, needed a sign off from REHS. Also, just wanted to give another reminder that the general plan draft environmental impact report was released a few weeks back now, and public comment period goes through October 31st. Those resources are available on the Trinity 2050 website. We also have copies of the draft environmental impact report at our various library locations and copies at the Planning and Cannabis Division Office, 530 Main Street in Weaverville. Last board meeting, if you recall, we had some discussion about qualified opportunity zones, and we made the decision not to bring that item back for this week. I guess 2 weeks back now, I attended a webinar put on by GoBiz and the California Department of Finance, where they kind of walked us through their selection process. And based on that information, as of yesterday, the Department of Finance released their preliminary designations for, based on the local recommendation forms that I submitted for the tracks that qualify in Trinity. So rather than bringing forward the topic, basically today, not even 24 hours after their preliminary recommendations were released, thought it'd make more sense to wait for that resource to be out there and then craft the staff report, including all of that additional information. So we'll bring that back to you next board meeting. And lastly, I think you're all aware, but we were approved for the pro-housing designation from California Department of Housing and Community Development in late March. So over these next few weeks through the rest of this month, we have some meetings with HCD set up to better understand how that will transition into pro-housing incentive program fund awards. But my expectation is that at this point is that based on the scoring of the scoring related to the pro-housing designation process, that we'll receive an award of $650,000 to help support, housing element related projects and programs. That's all I have for you, unless you have any questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the board or comments?
Has the governor finally signed off?
On
Pro-housing?
Well, so for the pro-housing designation, to my best understanding of it, we are listed as one of the, jurisdictions that received that designation in March. I honestly don't know how it works for the governor to sign off on that, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from board?
I just would like to, and I imagine you already have a plan about this, but to be kept abreast of like, well, what are you thinking of in terms of how that 650,000, could potentially get implemented? What's on the radar, and watch that process?
Sure.
Mhm.
I also have some questions for HCD as far as how that process works. It's not clear to me at this point if, I believe our scoring from the pro-housing designation is sort of a static, fixed number, which creates a value. So it's not clear to me if we're able to apply for $650,000 every year. That is my understanding, although I'm not confident that that's the case, but I believe that we'll be able to reapply for pro-housing incentive program funds every year through the rest of this housing element cycle, so through 2029. But the awards are prioritized based on the total allocation to our region. So if new designations come online in our region, then we may or may not receive subsequent rounds of pro-housing incentive program funding. As far as the list of topics, I'd be happy to bring that back as a discussion item, just to kind of keep you all abreast of, what we're thinking. Off the top of my head currently, I have had one of the things that I thought might be of value, which I think maybe doesn't rise to the top of the list anymore based on more recent conversations, was to look into the capacity of our existing CSDs. But I had some more recent conversations with Weaverville, and based on my understanding, Lewiston and Hayfork have pretty good capacity. So I'm not sure if that's the best use of those funds. I would like to see us roll out a pre-approved ADU or pre-approved house plan concept similar to what Shasta County has. If you guys haven't looked at the Shasta County website and seen the really cool renderings that they have as far as their pre-approved ADU, concepts that are out there, but I think that would be great. And there's probably some extra things that we could do in terms of, and obviously, staff capacity is always a significant piece of the puzzle. So I don't want to overpromise, but I think that at least in concept, there's the potential to help to further defray the cost of development for single-family dwellings, whether that be through grants or fee waivers, for school fees or building permit fees or any combination of those things. So that's just off the top of my head, some things that I think could be beneficial. But definitely, we'll bring that back for next board meeting if you would like that, and at least just give you we basically proposed everything and anything that we could, knowing that we'd be able to slim it down in the contracting phase if we were awarded the PIP funds. So I'll bring you back our robust list, and we'll have some discussion about it.
I'm curious as well. So whether or not we can apply in future years, I hear you saying uncertain, and if the funds would be the same or they would have to be more broadly spread between more applicants kind of at the table. Do you know if we would have to spend what we're given when it's provided, or can we accrue those funds to where they rise to a level that we can really implement something sort of larger?
So that's another question that I have, but generally, it's a reimbursement-based grant. So in terms of the overall, assuming, which I think there's a strong likelihood that we will formally be awarded PIP funding, assuming that does happen, I believe that we will have the remaining housing element cycle timeline, so through 2029, at least to expend the initial award. And then there are some mechanisms to potentially create revolving funds so that if we were to, invest into some multifamily development type project that, on the longer term, I believe that those resources could, be worked into the formal establishment of a revolving housing fund, something of that sort. So
My computer started talking. I'm sorry.
but basically, it's reimbursement based, so we'll have to utilize it to have access to it, essentially. As far as just sitting on it beyond the housing element cycle, I will ask that question.
Okay. It just seems like a delicate dance. What we can commit to, then do we get the reimbursement? Do we move forward with something else? Will we get the money back or not?
No, I mean, I
It's
think,
gonna be a challenge.
when we go through the contracting phase, we'll have to more clearly, detail exactly what we're going to prioritize and plan to utilize, those resources towards. So I wouldn't have any concern that we wouldn't be reimbursed. But can we come up with $650,000 worth of projects in that timeline? I think that we probably can.
Nice. I wanted to ask you another question too about the opportunity zones. So I just a little better clarity on when you said, as of yesterday, preliminary designations were released. So does that mean that we were included in that and now we're asking for exactly which ones?
So I glanced at it briefly, and it looks like, of the 3 qualifying census tracts that we proposed, they have selected one. And I didn't bring the stats with me, but my rough recollection, and Supervisor Lutweiler or CO Ted Hill, if you guys recall better than I do, feel free to add some more info, is that essentially they're working to designate about 650-ish census tracts throughout the state. This, I think, preliminary sort of list, if you will, at least I didn't look through the actual numbers, but based on the webinar that I attended, was targeting about 550. So they were basically leaving a little bit of room to add more qualifying census tracts. So as we discuss it at the next board meeting, it'll give us the opportunity to, whether, individual supervisors, community member, staff, want to submit comment letters. It's basically a comment function through an ArcGIS based mapping tool, essentially. So we can either, get individual supervisors, collective, consensus from the supervisors and just aggregate it, or, everyone who is interested can submit comments through that comment function. So yeah, one of our 3 qualifying census tracts made it on that preliminary list. And then a little bit more information too was that essentially for the existing opportunity zone and that census tract, that still stays in existence for the next couple years. And then there's an overlap between if we are designated, if a new census tract is designated, in terms of investment still being able to happen, and the tax deferrals or, tax incentives in those qualified opportunity zone, in our one existing qualified opportunity zone, if we attract investment there before that time's out, which I believe is end of 28, if I remember correctly, then they still get that 10-year time frame going forward. So there's a bit of overlap, and maybe we can work strategically to see if we can bring in some investment in, the existing opportunity zone and any potential new opportunity zone.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any department head reports out online?
I see no department heads unmuting or raising their hands.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to remind the public that department head reports can be found on their websites. If you did not hear from them today or online, you can find those on their websites. And we are often given a plethora of department head reports via email prior to the Board of Supervisors meetings. Now it's time for our report out from our county administrative officer.
Thank you, Chair. One additional thing in the community development area, we previously had some discussion in this room about potential LAMP process. There's currently a survey that's ongoing right now due to the personnel issues in environmental health right now. That item was not back on today's agenda, which had previously been tentatively scheduled for today's agenda. We will continue to monitor that and gather the results, but as soon as we have the appropriate staff to bring that back to the board, we'll have that on a future agenda item. That item has not been forgotten about.
Thank you.
Under the budget and library discussions, we have finalized an MOU with Shasta College, and basically next year, the library operations and budget will be the same as this previous last year. And then the rest of the budget process is ongoing, and we're on track for the proposed budget book to be publicly released on the 8th of September. Last week was the quarterly WIN Act meeting that took place, and part of that quarterly update was the Trinity River Division reconsultation efforts. They are in the process of evaluating options. Comments have been received back from cooperating agencies, and they're in the process of receiving public comments now. Overall, the NEPA and biological opinion schedules are trending towards a late 2026, early 2027 time period for potential completion. And these updated documents will then provide future guidance for the Trinity River flows and operational guidelines. We had a public comment on a property over in Hayfork, and I just want to provide a little bit of context to that. I appreciate the thanks on that, and I can also appreciate the frustration with the amount of time it has taken us to get to that. But for everybody's awareness, these properties, we have 11 properties right now in the county that are going through the receivership process. It's a very legal and court-driven process because they involve private property. And in essence, because of the severity of the issues and compliance type issues associated with those properties, the courts have decided that a public entity needs to come in and provide such cleanup efforts to those properties so they can then be put back in the hands of a potentially different private party to then maintain them. So it just takes a long time. If you were on the other side of that, as the private property owner, you probably want it to take a long time. So you have ample opportunity to try to provide necessary cleanup actions prior to a public entity being appointed via the courts to come in and provide those activities. So yes, these have been going on for years. And during my time in the seat, we have been addressing these. And the Hayfork property was the first of those properties to actually go through the formal process. We have another property in the Lewiston area that just began going through that process a couple of weeks ago. And that cleanup there will be ongoing as well for a while. And then it's just a priority, and we just keep working down the list. You can only do so many at a time. And the company who is appointed via the courts on our behalf can only have so much capacity as well. So it's a long process, but it is ongoing, and hopefully on some of these really egregious properties in the county, we can make some progress on those and get them cleaned up. That's all I've got for now.
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to Supervisor Cox. I know you helped work on that agreement between Shasta College and our library, and I appreciate the extra effort that you put in to help make that a successful blend.
Thanks.
We will now hear reports out from members of the Board of Supervisors, and we'll start with Supervisor Brownfield.
Good morning. So I went to the Ruth's Rodeo, which was an amazing success this last weekend. Just had a great time. All the constituents were there. We had a lot of great kids and a lot of great events and a lot of good bull riding, and everyone showed up and everyone participated, and just really thankful to the community that puts that together, the Lions Club and few other very good people, Roni Millsap and those people that really do a great job there. So just a shout out to them for all the success. We also have the Ruth Festival coming up on the 5th and the 6th, 9 to 5, and then it's 2 days. So that'll be and the HTRA puts that on every year. They do a fantastic job. So we want to thank them for putting that on, and excited to see the turnout for that. Let's see what else we did. I went to the Ruth, the watershed had a meeting down in, we were supposed to fly out and watch and look at the watershed, but the weather didn't cooperate that day. So we met with the watershed down there and had some wonderful conversations about headwaters and the lake and water going down to the consumers down in Arcata. And so great conversations. They do a lot of amazing work, those people. Shout out to Nick Gillette and all of those guys. So thank you for having me on that. And I look forward to actually flying sometime in August. We're going to go back down and try to get a picture of what the water looks like from the sky. So that's it. No out of county travel. Again, trying to coordinate with Drew. Thank you for being available to come up to our area and speak about the zoning update and the general plan and EIR. So we will make a date as soon as we can coordinate that, and appreciate it again. And thank you all for all your work.
Thanks. Supervisor Cox.
Thank you. This Friday, I have my quarterly meeting with the detailed forest supervisor that Ranger Jones spoke about. Her name is Lois Shoemaker. And Tara will be at that meeting as well. She has returned from her supervisor detail, as we see, and back to her regular seat. And so good to have those two folks in the same room. I do have a fairly substantial list of topics from our local partners for discussion. And I also am privileged to get to receive a tour of the North Operations Center. So looking forward to that. Want to highlight what Skylar was saying with regard to the Fire Safe Council. If you weren't online yet during that public comment period, Fire Safe Council is accepting nominations to recognize residents from within the county who reduce wildfire risk in their community or neighborhood. And that's just a wonderful way to highlight and honor those that are working hard to take those action steps forward. Those are costly both financially and labor intensive. And it's nice to sort of look at those projects and appreciate that work, and others can get some great ideas from it as well. The RC auction basket, again, want to thank Supervisor Lutweiler for his effort in putting out just publicity that allows people to participate in what goes into this basket in a way that can just be very organized, and can let me know if that's an item you want to donate needs to be picked up. Happy to do that. If you have questions about it, we can have that conversation. But when I take this county basket down to Santa Barbara County in about a month, this is a wonderful way to kind of tell a Trinity story and invite people to come or participate in various things. We have already some accommodations, rafting, and a beautiful flag that will again be donated by Hayfork High School. They'll make that gorgeous metal large wall hanging of a beautiful American flag, which was a huge hit a few years ago when they did that. So really glad to have that again. And so if you are a business owner or know of one that would like to participate in this and put your items there, this is just a great way to showcase who we are as a county and invite folks here. That is the end of my report. Thank you.
Supervisor Lutweiler?
Yes. So I attended the most recent quarterly meeting on jail health. And I think we've talked about this somewhat before, but this is where several departments came together and figured out a way. And it's kind of a way that the rest of the state is looking at us saying, wow, how did you figure that out? Way to save this county millions of dollars. And basically we are tapping into funds that can be used to pay for some forms of support provided through jail for jail health. And I just want to honor the collaboration of that group, because it literally has saved us already millions of dollars with more anticipated. And based on the discussion we had this last time, I am working with some of the team members to evaluate a prototype hub that might enhance the user experience and give the management more usable data for oversight. Because one of the things that we learned, as you heard Sheriff Saxon say, there's a lot of turnover still. And so you just get somebody trained up to record their time just right so that then we can get reimbursed for that time. And then they move on and we have to train up the next one. And so sometimes there's a period where that reporting isn't what it could be, even though they're doing a fabulous job. So hopefully we can find some ways to enhance that. But just kudos to the group. It's been a huge team effort and a big impact to our county, because that frees up money in the general fund to use for other things, including more deputies and all the other things we need that money for. Assembly member Chris Rogers was here for a community meeting in Weaverville. We had about 25 or 30 people in attendance here in this room. I thought it was great to see that turnout. I think we went for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it was very healthy engagement, which was great. And what's interesting, he asked to reach out for coffee or something beforehand, and I said, well, I can't because I'm at a leadership summit at the Fountain Ranch in Sawyer that day. And I said, maybe they would invite you to join. And so that happened. So he not only came to host a community event here, but he got to sit in and see this amazing facility that we have right here in Trinity County, which I didn't even know existed, for retreats and weddings and all kinds of things, but especially from a leadership retreat standpoint, it's like, wow, this is spectacular. And it was also fun to be able to see one of my peers in their other element. You know, we often forget that most of us, all of us, have other jobs than this. And so leadership consulting, which Heidi does, Supervisor Carpenter Harris does, I got to see that in person, in action, and it was fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyway, and I just want to honor Assembly member Chris Rogers and his support team member Heidi McHugh, because they have been out here more in his short tenure than I remember any other representative in their whole term. So I'm really thankful for the work that they do and their commitment to engaging with Trinity County. Nortec, we heard from Smart earlier. I've had an executive committee meeting last week with Nortec, and I have another one this week. It's just an active organization right now with the transition of a new executive director and other things going on. Fire Chiefs Association. I met with Dwight Stewart, who is the Trinity Center Fire Chief and the training lead for the fire chiefs, regarding a prototype hub that we're designing to assist the chiefs and their departments. And he's enthusiastic about the platform, Supervisor Cox, so you finally heard back from him. So he is going to work with some of his team, and I will not be at the 10th meeting because I'm not available. So he will probably present it, doesn't need me to present it, and then get feedback, and hopefully there'll be a strong buy-in and feedback on how to improve it. But that was exciting to hear that they think that's something they can implement. The women entrepreneurs of Trinity County, we mentioned that in a previous meeting, and so we've launched the initiative to start to gather information about the women entrepreneurs in Trinity County. And I think, sometimes you try things and they kind of fall flat. This one was really impressive from the very beginning, but as of this morning, 306 different nominations have come in for a total of 125 women and their businesses. And so I'm now beginning the outreach to confirm their desire to participate and be recognized, and then together their stories. And just because somebody put their name on the list doesn't mean they want to be on the list. So we want to, we'll let them opt in or opt out, and then they can either choose to have a short intro post on a website or a full feature story on a website. And so I've been reaching out, gathering that information, curating those stories, and we'll have more of that available soon.
Good. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Are you complete? Supervisor Gogan?
I had no out-of-county travel. I did have a town hall last Thursday. It was well attended. The people of Hayfork are very thankful for the compound being cleaned up. We're in the process of being cleaned up. As CEO Tudhill said, it's a long, long process. I think I started working on this my first term, and here I am in my second term. So, a lot of thanks to CEO Tudhill for keeping that ball rolling. It's a tough one, but we got that done, and the property next door looks like it's going to get cleaned up a little bit. We also discussed the fair and the state of the fair this last year, and things we can do to help it be a little bit more successful. And, obviously one of the things was the economy is not that great. And that was, that hurt the fair quite a bit. Thanks to everybody who donated for the animals at livestock auction. That was very good. So I'm going to start trying to get some of the repairs done at the fairground through Hayfork High School and their trades department. The rural communities are starting to kind of go away from the computer thing back to the trade schools, the welding, trades like that. So I think I can talk to the principal over there and maybe get some work out of them. And Ruby Fierro from the probation can also help there too, I think. So that could be a good start to get things moving forward there, and possibly the pushback of the fair three more weeks, so it's not 1 week behind the 4th of July activities here in Weaverville. So we're going to have to get a good jump on that, keep that going, and get that fair back up to what it was. It's a great thing for Hayfork and Trinity County. Calcutta Night is coming up in Hayfork for the Rotary. If anybody's interested, they can get hold of me or Dana Stewart from the Rotary. It's a great night, raises a lot of money, and it goes a long way over there. Also, the Dolly Parton Book Club, as I mentioned most times, is open for any child newborn to age 5. Every month of the year, they get a free book, age appropriate, that they can keep. for the rest of their lives and start their own little library and get reading, which is really good. Being a store owner, gas prices are coming down a little bit, so that should be helpful to all of us, I think. Let's hope they keep trending that way. Although we need all the gas tax we can, it's good to see the gas prices coming down for everybody. It touches everything that you touch, not just putting fuel in your car. Everything at the grocery stores is associated with fuel. So let's hope that keeps on going down. It would be good for our community to get the gas back to a reasonable price. And I think that is about it. Actually, I have one more thing. It was kind of odd, but I was at one of the committees I'm on has to do with opioids, drugs in the community. And there is a new drug out there. I do not know the name, but it's brand new, stronger than fentanyl, and it's undetectable through tests at this point. So if you had a 55-gallon barrel of this new drug and 2 teaspoons of fentanyl in there, it would test positive for fentanyl. Or if you had no fentanyl in there, it would test negative for drugs. So that's something that people should keep their eye on. It does respond to Narcan, which is easily got at you can get it at my store for free. We hand it out. Department of Education hands it out. I would hope everybody has some, and this new drug does work. Narcan does work on it. So keep an eye on that. And let's hope this stuff comes to an end at some point. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. My report out is going to be a little lengthy as I attended NACO. So I would like to just kind of forewarn you. NACO conference with this summer was in New Orleans, Louisiana. It was almost passed away. It was so hot. It's unbelievable. It was so hot. But anyway, it was a good time. Lots of people from around the nation. We had one of the largest plugs of new first-time attendees at this particular conference, which is nice. I will say that New Orleans did do their very, very best to put on a good show. There wasn't a moment that you weren't hearing either in the far distance or in your presence the sound of jazz music and trumpets and different things. They had some of the university bands there to welcome everybody. And so that was really, really fun to see that kind of music being played just right up front and personal. Attended many of the sections throughout the day. I try to fill my day as full as possible and attend as many as I can. I will lead with the Public Lands Caucus meeting. We talked a great deal about fuels reduction on federal lands. For some of the other western states, the reinstating of a lot of the mining opportunities that had been shut down but are now opening again. And of course, water. Payments in lieu of taxes was on the list, as was the progression of secure rural schools as we move into those items coming before our Congress. And of course, wolves. And then I think probably the biggest headliner throughout the entire conference when speaking about public lands and rural counties and western counties was data centers and how counties are dealing with those and kind of the pros and cons of having them. And there was just a significant amount of interest in how data centers are rolling out across this nation. But I will let you know that through the Public Lands Caucus, I'll just give you the list of resolutions that were passed. And why does this matter? Well, they're policy resolutions, and once they're passed, they are kind of taken up by the voice of NACO as a whole, which is the National Association of Counties. Those policy resolutions become sort of talking points, if you will, as they lobby on the Hill on behalf of all of the counties that are associated with NACO. There are many caucuses and groups within NACO that focus on individual interests, and public lands is one that Trinity County, I attend due to the fact that we are a very large public lands county. So we had a resolution to support revenue sharing applied to all commercial developments on public lands, which was an ask to say, if you're going to make money on public lands in our county, we ask that you share that with us. And then there was a resolution that was passed through public lands regarding the delisting of the gray wolf. As you know, this board passed a resolution in support of landowners being allowed to defend themselves against gray wolves, not only for themselves, but their livestock. There was a resolution requesting regarding the reform of the Endangered Species Act. There was a resolution to update national park fee allocations to prioritize park operations and gateway economies. So although we are not a gateway economy necessarily, we are in the sense that we to a national park, but we are to many wildlands and the recreation areas that are offered around us. So having conversations around how the gateway communities are affected in our economy and our ability to provide emergency services when people come here specifically to use wildlands. There was a resolution to support the moving of National Marine Fisheries Service out of Department of Commerce to the Department of Interior. May have interest to Supervisor Gogan and CAO Tuthill. There was a resolution to supporting long-term federal investment for the national park systems to help with restoration of their infrastructure. A resolution supporting long-term forest restoration funding and local control to prevent catastrophic wildfires. A resolution to support the amending of the Antiquities Act. A resolution to support the increasing of federal funding on emphasis on maintenance and restoration of physical and public land survey system for monuments. Resolution supporting the delisting of the Mexican wolf, which is the wolf that's impacting the southwestern states. Resolution urging Congress to support HR 9325, establishing the Lone Star Coastal National Recreation Area. So we're busy at these meetings. We're not just hanging out, drinking coffee. A resolution of recognition of outdoor recreation and tourism as a critical economic drivers for counties. A resolution to support the amending of Recreation and Public Purposes Act. A resolution to support congressional action to address the permitting and funding process for the removal of invasive species, which I think has some relevancy to us with our problems with Scotch broom and tree of heaven. It was the resolution kind of just wrapped up that if there's an invasive species and it's on land that is adjacent to county land or on county land, and then even on state highways, that we're asking to not have to go through the enormous process of NEPA and all of these different things to be able to attack these invasive species that are really taking over and having a negative impact on us. A resolution opposing nationwide resource management planning and supporting the federal land management agencies amending plans locally at the field office level and in the forest unit level, which would be helpful. Resolution encouraging the U.S. Department of Interior to increase transparency and data sharing for payments in lieu of taxes and PILT, which matters to us because we do receive those PILT payments. And that closes the public lands resolutions. I will say with kind of some proud of us, CAO Tuthill and the Transportation Department Caucus and I worked together to put forth a resolution to the Department of Transportation, and it was passed unanimously with a jump in very, very quickly by some of our other Western states and friends in Colorado and Arizona. And it was to support our ability to reach back into or leave open fire funds for those long-term negative impacts on county roads, and to be allowed to not have to go through the NEPA process when we know that the improvements were directly impacted by an emergency. And so I'm super proud to say that that will now become piece of the voice of NACO. And hopefully our county and other counties within the nation will grab a hold of that, and they will push it forward to their legislators. And perhaps, just maybe, it'll get included in a bill coming out of the Natural Resources Department or the Transportation Department when Congress goes forward to do that. One of the interesting things that one of the counties made kind of, I don't know if it was policy for them, but they provide, and I don't know, maybe we do, I don't know the answer to this, so it's kind of information and a question. They make sure that they have Narcan on all of their transportation buses. Do we do that? Do you know? We do? Okay. I just thought that that was a good idea, considering the circumstances that we find ourselves in at times. I attended the data centers workshop. Primarily, the issues around the data centers, as many can probably assume, is the amount of water, power, the low. The sound that comes out of them is often lower than what we can physically hear, but it's happening still, and so there's a sound concern, and then the land use for those data centers, as they are enormous. And there were counties there that have allowed data centers, and counties there that had completely restricted data centers coming in at all. And they were able to give their reasons why they made the decisions that they made. And NACO is putting together a kind of a checklist or a bullet point list that's going to be available to all of us to make sure that if we ever are brought forward to a conversation about that we don't forget some of the questions that we may not know exist because we haven't had that experience yet. So I'll make sure that I share that with CAO Tut Hill. It was very interesting. There was the people who were for them, and of course the people who weren't were not. And I will say that the counties that were for them are swimming in dollars right now. So it's an interesting quandary. You know, some of the really poor counties that have a lot of land have chosen to go that direction. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that some people did do that. And now that they've been in place for a little bit, I think that the studies are going to be able to show like what are the true actual unintended consequences of having the data centers on those properties. One of the suggestions that was made, I thought was a good one, is why are we using new land when we have enormous chunks in cities where they're old industrial landscapes, that like in Detroit and in places where those are clearly industrial properties, they're not being utilized right now. How come we can't put them there rather than out, of course, in our wildlands? That's a question I think is a reasonable thought, but I don't know. And then I attended the Rural Action Caucus, and we spent a good percentage of our time talking about transportation, county roads, payment in lieu of taxes, secure rural schools, and again, data centers. And then I attended a wildlife habitat connectivity and land use. It was very interesting for some of the larger, more mountainous, I guess, intermountain counties have been working directly with their state transportation to do wildlife crossovers. Maybe you've seen some of those. And they, a couple counties came forward to share that it was a long road, but once it happened, they had an enormous success with the wildlife choosing those overpasses to walk on. They're all planted and different things, and the reduction in the amount of deer deaths that were on the roads, which then changes, you know, car accidents, the response to those car accidents, and then insurances. There's not as many claims, but I was really surprised at the amount of success that they have when those overcrossings are provided. It seems you kind of laugh at that, and you're not sure if it's really going to work, but everyone who had done that really had a significant amount of success with deer and elk and some of the larger ruminant animals. Leadership and public trust, I went to that. That was a good training. The room was packed. It was leadership and public trust through ethical leadership. We had a great presentation from a number of county leaders who do their work in different, so attorneys and CAOs, and then also folks who are commissioners or supervisors. We had a great conversation around people's leadership styles, how those are interpreted by the community, perceptions versus realities, and really sticking to your county values and using those as your steering rudder for all of the decisions that you make. I attended the Western Interstate meetings. That was predominantly around, again, SRS, payment in lieu of taxes, water, fire, fuels reduction, and mining. And then I also attended the National Association of Native County Leaders, which is a really interesting, it's a newer group to NACO, and they focus predominantly on the Native voice within county government. And it's just, there's interesting things that happen in the interface between reservations and counties and their states, and then also the federal government around law enforcement, and then also IDs. And a lot of people, especially the older people, the much older elders on reservation lands, often do not have birth certificates. And so the challenge of them being able to get IDs and different things for the requirement to, to vote, and then also to be able to sign up for federal programs and different things can sometimes be a challenge for them. And it's just interesting to have that conversation. And then I offered for the future, when I will no longer be representing Trinity County, but over 75% of Americans die without wills or trusts. And that number is exorbitantly higher in Native populations. And so helping develop a wills and trust program that counties can, and within Native county or Native reservation areas, to help people do simple wills and trusts. I know there's a lot of online opportunities for that, but to have someone sit by you and just help you work through those would be really important. I know that in Trinity County, we have a problem with people dying without their wills, and it puts the county in a position where we have to deal with the resources that are left behind, and how do we help facilitate burial and different things like that. So it's something that I have a personal interest in helping people with, and then we may be able to kind of launch that through this Native county leaders taking on the Native populations first and helping with that. And that is the close of NACO. Thank you for letting me represent the county there. Like I said, it was excruciatingly hot, but they always have them when it's in hot areas in the summer because it's cheaper. So they save money by sending us to incredibly hot areas. I do want to say I went to the Junction City, the North Fork Grange's scholarship night Saturday, and there's just something that I think is very, very American, if you will, I guess. Norman Rockwell painting, just everything that kind of embodies the values of Americana when you see communities paying $100+ for a pie. We say the economy is bad, but we went to the livestock auction at Trinity County Fair, and it's true. Sometimes the economy is a little bit rough, but when it comes to supporting our kids in this county, people seem to just overlook what they may need on a personal level, and they buy pies for $200. They, buy auction items, they bid on things, and we buy pigs for thousands and thousands of dollars. And I just am super grateful that regardless of what may be divisive at times and hard at times, that when it comes to our kids in this county, we all show up no matter what. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And I think that they had a very good turnout at the Grange event in Junction City. And I know that we're just going to keep rolling on with Calcutta's and the different things that different organizations do to put our kids through the schools they desire to go to. So thank you, Trinity County, for being who you are and doing what you do. And that's the end of my report out.
Thank you for all of that work. I just want to say, if you haven't been to one of these conferences, and when I go to RCRC or Supervisor Lutweiler goes to CSAC, you know, it's a step up each time in how many counties are participating and the level of kind of intensity. So I've done CSAC in the past. Now that we just send one supervisor, you know, I don't anymore. But I can only imagine the level of intensity when you go to NACO and all of these new people coming together. And when she listed off every single one of those resolutions that got implemented with their support or opposition, however that, you know, sort of lobbying is going to turn out, every single one of those is preceded by boatloads of participation. Speaker after opinion after, and all the processes that are involved. You talk about, you know, public input and these things that come together to make this thing that then gets, you know, decided upon. This is hours and hours of sitting there, you know, in sweltering heat and uncomfortable conditions, to really fight for what we end up knowing that, you know, regions and sectors across our nation are coming together. We are not alone in the things that we are, you know, working toward and hoping for. And so, Supervisor Carpenter Harris, thank you for doing that on our behalf. It's not small.
You get pretty tired. I do want to add to that the other thing that's really amazing is we had a walk-in opportunity with the Federal Department of Transportation. And they're just there, and you can bring in your resolutions, you can bring in your request, you can go sit straight across the table from them, and they take your name and they give you their business cards, and you bring forward things that maybe they've never thought about before because you're from a tiny place like Trinity County. And it's great. We had that at the legislative conference with the White House staff. And so it's an opportunity to, you get to walk straight through so many layers and talk to the people who are directly advising. And when you have, there's always the top of the line people there from the U.S. Forest Service, from other departments who come, and they're sitting in those rooms while you're having all of these discussions, and they're hearing people stand up and make comments about what's going on in their county. And I can tell you that countless times I have gone to walk out of a room and you're approached by a staffer who works for a specific congressman or something, and they say, I like what you said. Here's my card. I'll capture that through an email and we'll jump on this task with you. And so it's just an opportunity to really kind of work through a lot of, I guess, static, if you will, and just walk straight into the front door of some of the people who are making decisions. So it's you have to do your homework though, so that you represent well. And
Yeah.
so that's something that's important to me. I try my hardest.
One more follow-up comment, if I may, is I just want to remind ourselves as a board for the future, as you make decisions about budget and such, and the public, that, again, we've made a conscious decision because of budget limitations that we only send one representative to each of these three organizations that were just listed. What Supervisor Carpenter Harris went through, which was extensive, was one category. So I sit on the Internet and Telecommunications Subcommittee for NACO, but I don't go to the meetings because we only send one person. Well, that committee had its own set of long list of things. And while people sometimes going to these, I'm seeing this, some people go to these events and it's a boondoggle. Oh, we went to a fun place and I showed up at one of the luncheons and I maybe showed up for a workshop and I'm playing. Some people work very hard and try to make a difference and try to make the Trinity County voice heard and to bring back information that we need to be aware of. And we are consciously limiting ourselves. I just want everybody aware. I mean, we do it because we realize there are so many other things that we need that money for in the county, but let's not miss the fact that we are making a conscious decision to limit our impact by not participating at a broader level.
So are you wanting more people to go to those?
I don't want
The
to
budget,
broach
a
that
que-
subject up. We can talk about that during the budget meetings. I'm just saying, when we talk about the money, and I think there's a sensitivity. Well, if it's going to be more money to pay the supervisors, it's going to be more money for them to travel, it's going to be more money for them to be away from the county. There's this, evilness seen around that, and it's a waste of county money. And what you just heard, I hope, helps people understand it can be a very impactful use of money. And so as we get into the budget discussions, I just think it's something that the board and the public should consider. There are other counties that only send one person, and there are counties that send every single person. So I'm not trying to advocate for something. I'm just trying to make sure we're aware, because I think we just kind of go with what we've got. Well, we don't have much money, so, we'll only send one person. There's an outcome from that.
True. We will now close Board of Supervisor reports and ask for a report out from the Tourism Funding Ad Hoc.
The only thing I have here, I kind of made me think of it when Supervisor Brownfield was talking about the events in Ruth. And it occurred to me that, we have a great function from our Trinity Journal, posts a lot of events in the newspaper. And there are other ways in which you can maybe learn about things. But I have reached out to Wayne, the editor of the Journal, who's also the president of the Trinity County Chamber of Commerce, about establishing a new online platform where people, both locals and visitors, could go and see all of the events that are going on throughout the county in a much more usable, engaged way. As designed right now, the prototype, it includes, click here for more information, click here for directions, click here for things. You can sort it by your area of interest. You can sort it by community. So I'm trying to, tease that out with him, because he's the source of the calendar information, and I don't want to supplant, I want to support. But again, to me, it's just that thing. We do have all these rich opportunities for engagement, both locally and for bringing people in, but we got to get people to be aware of it. So just wanted to that's the only thing I have as an update for that, because otherwise we're in between quarterly meetings, and the group is the chambers, and the other people using the money are out using the money.
Okay, thank you. We will now move into our consent calendar. These items include routine, non-controversial matters and will be acted upon by the board by one roll call motion. If a member of the public has any questions or comments on an item on the consent calendar, they may provide them now. A member of the board or staff may request an item be pulled or considered separately. Do we have any public comment in the room on the consent calendar?
Chair Supervisors, Lisa Wright. I would like to request that item D3 be pulled for some further discussion and clarification. I guess in looking at the various tasks that they're adding, it would seem like those would have already been built into the contract, such as ongoing public comment matrix. Maybe there's these additional study sessions are a result of the decoupling. I'm not sure. Revised public review draft zoning code, that should have really been part of their original engagement, I would think. CEQA findings of consistency, same sentiment there. I would just comment on project management, because in the contract itself, it talks about invoicing and budgeting. So I would never dream of, as a contractor, to bill whoever I'm charging for actually doing my own invoicing. That doesn't really seem appropriate. I never do that in my projects, right? That's my business cost. So just some concerns there, because that's a pretty sizable new addition of $16,000. It all adds up certainly, but my biggest ask is why this wasn't built in many of these tasks under the original contract. Thank you.
Any further public comment in the room? Seeing none, any online?
I have no raised hands.
Okay, we'll close public comment on the consent calendar. Do any members of the board wish to pull an item?
I'll pull D3 on behalf of the public, just to see what, explain this a little bit.
Okay. Do we have a motion to pass the rest of the consent calendar?
I'll move approval on the balance of the consent calendar, accepting D3.
Do
I'll
we have
second.
second from Supervisor Gogan? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Lutwiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
Chairman Carpenter Harris?
Aye.
Thank you.
We will now hear item D3. Do we have Department Head Drew Plabani?
Read the item in, please.
Community Planning approve amendment number 5 to the agreement with Minter Harnish extending the term to December 31st, 2027, increasing the maximum cost of $2,621,339.50, adding Exhibit F to expand the scope of work for the facilitation of the county's comprehensive general plan update, program EIR, and zoning code update.
Good day again, Chair and Supervisors. Chair Pavani, Director of the Community Development Department. So essentially, just simply this contract amendment is the result of May 19th and 20th study sessions and the decoupling direction from the board. As you see as an attachment to this agenda item, there's a revised scope of work, which includes, additional public engagement, zoning code, study sessions. To some of the questions about the topics within that scope of work, project management, although maybe not like highlighted in the description of the task, is primarily engagement between the consultants and county staff to continue coordinating and moving the project as a whole forward. We basically, as a result of the study sessions, and board direction, we identified the need for, in conjunction during those study sessions, we identified the need for 5 additional study sessions. And then also, not previously included in the scope of the contract, was to prepare a formal revised draft of zoning code. So that was never the intent, to recirculate a full revised draft. So that, yeah, in short, all of this is primarily the result of the decoupling and the study sessions. And so we increased the total maximum, but the increase in this amendment number 5 is $132,500 for these additional tasks as a result of the study sessions.
Chair, may I make a comment? So I want to provide a little clarity in regard to this being a direct result of the decoupling. This was more a result of the items associated with future zoning code that the board wanted to ensure happened based upon the public comment that was received. So there was a large amount of additional workload that was put forth based upon the future zoning code adjustments that will happen based upon the 2 days of that joint meeting. The decoupling was an outcome of that, yes, but whether we would have kept that together and run the general plan, EIR, and zoning code concurrently, if the board still had wanted those items done associated with zoning code, we still would have seen this additional request and additional work scope. So although it was related to the decoupling effort, it was not a direct result of just decoupling.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, let me sort of add, thanks for clarifying that. I mean, yeah, the decoupling was the result of this expanded scope of work and the timeline-based reality. So they're kind of, hand in hand, but agreed. Yeah, this is not the result of decoupling. Decoupling is the result of this expanded scope of work.
And we can all have discussions and opinions about, the original contract, but this level of effort was not included in the original contract at all. And in our fairly extensive conversations with Jim Harnish, or Jim of Mentor Harnish, the owner of this, who runs about 30 of these projects concurrently across the state, our level of effort is significantly higher than any other jurisdictions that they are currently working in.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions from the board?
Yep, I would like to ask whether we as a board at some point would determine that we don't need the help of Montier Harnett. I can never say that. And kind of say, when is that point when we can take over as a county on these matters that the planning, building and planning and departments can take responsibility and decision-making? Because I'm seeing not a really huge need for them at some point in the near future. Not that haven't done a beautiful job so far, right? They were really important to have, but we're spending a lot of money, and I'm not sure if we need to at some point we can end that.
So at some point, this will come to an end, obviously, when this effort is wrapped up. But you currently do not have the planning staff to carry out this effort.
Okay.
If we had 2 or 3 other full-time planning staff members, you may be able to do some of this type of effort, but these efforts are only done once every, couple decades. So you don't have in-house staff that are on the payrolls all the time to do this level of effort. This is the methodology to do these, every few years, every few decades type of projects versus having staff on full-time. And that we don't have the specialized expertise that work in this field all the time that the consultants bring to this effort. Like I said, they're working, we're just one of many of their jurisdictions they're working for. And then they can share, lessons learned across other jurisdictions, best practices and that kind of stuff. And that's what they're trying to bring forward to allow us to make decisions upon.
Thank you for the explanation.
Any further questions?
Perhaps you want to add just a few comments to provide full clarity to whatever language is giving an inference to Mentor Harnish charging us to create their invoices.
I don't know that I can, off the top of my head, speak to, the exact dollar amount as a subset to that task. I know we have that information, but there's a lot of figures in our invoices.
So I'm not really asking for you to provide figures to us, but more like sometimes when we read language in an item, it can make us think that something is, really substantial when perhaps it's just sort of a minor inclusion in a long list of things and maybe not as largely concerning as the language might lead us to believe.
Right, so we have twice a month standing meeting. And I would say the primary use of that project management task category is for our ongoing project coordination meetings with them to continue moving the overall project forward.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any further questions from the board? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on this item? Any online?
I have no raised hands.
Thank you. We'll close public comment on item. Do I have a motion for item D3 on the consent calendar?
Move to approve as presented.
Oh, second.
Second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Leutwiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Bromfield? Aye. Chairman Carpenter Harris?
Aye.
Thank you.
I would like to take a break at this moment. We'll return at 11:43.
Because the official record that we take is just the decisions.
I mean, I could.
I would like to see more shared, but.
Heidi, we're ready.
Ready? Okay. We will now reconvene the meeting of the Trinity County Board of Supervisors, and we will open with our public hearing. Solid waste, conduct a public hearing to consider adoption, a resolution confirming FY 26-27 solid waste parcel fee delinquent list. No impact to general fund, estimated revenue in the amount of $275,000 to solid waste enterprise fund. Welcome and good day.
Thank you. Good morning. Diane Rader, Deputy Director of Solid Waste. This item is the public hearing to review the delinquent list for the parcel fee fiscal year 26-27 and adopt the resolution to accept that list. We sent out bills in April, collected fees through June 30. We collected late payments up through July 31st, with the final portion of those being, if they were accepted after July 28th, then they are on the supplemental list that I brought with me because we couldn't get them on the agenda in time. So we'd like to accept that list of payments also to adjust the list that's published. And we resolved as many of the questions that we could that came up during that period and accepted vacant and elderly low incomes and recycling credits. And we think we're done for the year.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing none in the room, do we have any online?
I have no raised hands.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board? Seeing none, I will ask for a adoption or movement of the resolution. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, I move to approve as presented.
Second.
One.
Can I confirm that your motion and your second approves the list as presented without the, but removing the payments that were received after?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, yes, as of, how should we word that? As of the date today, or how do you need this to be?
Less the supplemental payments accepted?
You can just adopt the
Okay.
resolution without this, removing the supplemental payments that were received.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the matter as presented with the list being updated by supplemental payments. Who seconded
I didn't. Did you want to put it all in? Good enough.
that
Yep.
amendment?
Do we have any comments?
I just have one comment. I'm glad I got my late payment in. I was getting ready to go in and realized that Sue said, I think I paid. Oh, I didn't pay. And so I dropped mine off. We had to include the late payment. And then in my infinite wisdom, I dropped in our cards and the late payment. So then I didn't have the cards anyway, even though I paid. But anyway, I'm glad I got off the list before you brought things in here, Diane. Yeah, we got the cards. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, I know.
Do we have any further comments? Okay, we'll now call for the vote.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Leutwiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
Chairman Carpenter Harris?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we now close the public hearing on solid waste. Now move into county matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, or public may request that an item be heard out of order. Do we have any requests for items being heard out of order? Seeing none, we'll move into item F1, General Services. Approve a budget adjustment for FY 25-26 for General Services Department 1750, increasing salaries and benefits by $20,987 and approving a budget adjustment for FY 25-26 for General Fund Contingency Department 9901, decreasing provisions for contingency by $20,987 increase in general fund appropriations in the amount of 20,987. Current contingency balance is $493,612. Who is presenting?
Chair, I can do this one. As the staff report outlines, this was more of an administrative just catch up when we were, truing up everything at the end of the year and realized that some of the medical cost of medical benefits wasn't included in the original budget that was adopted last year.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing none, do we have any online?
I have no raised hands.
Okay, we'll close public comment on item F1. Do we have any questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll open for a motion, please.
I will move to accept this item as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Do we have any comments or discussion on this item from the board? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote.
Supervisor Lutweiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
Chairman Carpenter Harris?
Aye.
Thank you.
We'll now move to item F2, transportation. Approve a budget adjustment for FY 25-26 for miscellaneous public works department 3110, increasing revenues by $100 and interfund expenses by $740 and decreasing service and supplies by $141, and approve a budget adjustment for FY 25-26 for general fund contingency department 9901, decreasing provisions for contingency by $499. Do we have transportation online or?
Yes, we do. I'm here, Panos Kokas, Director of Transportation.
Good day, sir.
Thank you. Good day to everyone, and thank you for all your work with the NACO. I think that bill is very important for us, and we really, really appreciate it, along with many other counties who have storm damage.
It was
This
my pleasure.
This item is about the East Weaver Creek. Last year or the year before, we completed a lot of work to take it out of a floodplain through FEMA. And the last meeting, the last few months or so, they came back with some questions. They had some clarifications before they post their maps. So we did some extra work, and that's why it's a $500 shortage. Our budget was an estimate, and estimates, sometimes they are wrong.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the Board of Supervisors on this item? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on this item? None in the room, any online?
I have no raised hands.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Well, second.
Do we have any comments from the Board of Supervisors on this item?
Yeah, I would like to just express gratitude to the Department of Transportation, not only to Director Kokas, but he has many staff who were involved in this process. And Supervisor Lutweiler and I kind of watched this through its phases of implementation. And I was amazed at how intricate and I'd call it gnarly from my perspective. And yet the results of this are greatly needed. And what this will provide for folks who can be affected by these floodplains is very important. And so just thank you to you and your staff, Director, for all of the work.
You're welcome. Our
Any
pleasure.
further comments on this item? Seeing none, we'll now call for the vote.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Lutweiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
Chairman Carpenter Harris?
Aye. Thank you. We'll now hear item F3, Community Development Planning. Discuss and/or provide direction to staff regarding a potential update to Trinity County Code Section 16 subdivision. Who will be presenting this?
Your director ran to print some documents. He was hoping we were going to be a little bit slower. He is on his way back right now.
So as Drew comes back, the board asked us about 90 days ago when we were talking about an item associated with Title 17 and some potential updates when we were talking about how the county surveyor plays into this whole process and planning. And, if there were some items out of our code in Title 16 that could also be implemented and help create some efficiencies and speed some projects along. We did some of that research. We explored a couple different options in the staff report. You see potential, draft, kind of a scope of work, statement of work if we went the consultant route. We looked at, potentially doing it, with staff in-house. And this is something that is probably more conducive to like a staff in-house type of effort, because it is adjusting some of our internal processes more that's associated with code versus like a very large, huge, like general plan type of effort. Very, very different types of efforts, different scope, different technical capabilities needed. So you'll also see in there that, there could be some of that a little higher level technical expertise needed in some areas, both from a legal perspective and from like a planner perspective, if we get into those. And that's kind of why the hybrid approach is discussed and really the recommended approach in there. This is all based upon the fact that if we keep our current staff, if we keep our current planners, which are very competent, very capable, and very good, but we got to have people to do that work. And we do have those right now, and we want to keep those. And they also have day jobs. So, this is over and above, what we're doing every day to push projects through. But timing wise, it probably makes sense to put this into the work plan of, Drew's department, but not make it like the priority. We got to get Title 17 updated. We got to get the general plan passed. We got to get the EIR done. We got to get the zoning taken care of. But this is part of that. So we need to start rolling this into it. In a very future meeting, which I think should be the next meeting, you guys will see an agenda item to, appoint a new county surveyor. So, timing is right for that as well. A lot of the activities associated with this title or section 16 deals with, the county surveyor and subdivisions and those standards and how our role plays into those developments. We don't have a big list of big developments. We don't have multiple projects out there that have multiple lots being developed, a big traditional development that you might see in other jurisdictions. A lot of our, planning effort is in that small scale, maybe a lot split, a lot line adjustment, these subdivisions that are less than 4 parcels, small type stuff is where the bulk of our work is in. And that's why we think we can do this in-house better, kind of at probably more of a piecemeal effort, make some steps along the road and get this addressed with maybe a few, updates of code when needed and a lot more policy or procedures put in place when we get a new county surveyor online. So that's kind of where we're at right now. If you got any questions, the staff report is fairly decent, I believe, and we can address any questions the board may have.
Did you want to add?
Start by apologizing. Susie told me I had enough time to.
It's Susie's fault.
But no, I think, CO Tuthill covered it pretty well. I have had some discussions with staff and kind of talk through from a timeline perspective and how this needs to align with updates to zoning code. Had some discussions with Director Kokas about, county surveyor work, how that works with planning, the workload of the county surveyor. I think one sort of minute but important piece of the puzzle in terms of, making just the general process improvements, but to try to streamline this and make this a process that works more efficiently and effectively for all involved is, end of last year, we reformed, I guess you could say, the subdivision review committee. and we've since had for them. But in discussing with Director Kokas kind of the format for that, I think that something that we should consider is rather than a subdivision review committee that needs to be, public noticed and is a formal public hearing, that we have something like a technical advisory committee that when the projects come in, we all sit down on, not day one, but, early on at the beginning of the process, go through with all of the folks that are going to have input, clarify it from the get-go. What additional information do we need? That aligns us more effectively with the timelines from the Permit Streamlining Act that apply to subdivision. And then we also want to work this in tandem with zoning code so that just from even like a terminology perspective, we have the appropriate review authority, nomenclature that aligns. And there's, one of the things that's always helpful is to deconflict where we have county code that doesn't align well with other sections of county code, and that always makes more work for staff. So I definitely agree with the hybrid approach proposal. My thinking, given that we're kind of on a slow train now with zoning code, is that ideally we would be able to adopt updated subdivision code prior to adopting the updated zoning code, because they work in tandem. But from a terminology perspective, again, it would be helpful to ensure that the changes we're making to Title 17 are effectively detailed in Title 17. Did I say that right? Title 16 subdivision code are effectively detailed in Title 17. So we talked about it a bit yesterday, and from a staff capacity perspective in terms of, getting the bulk of Title 16 updated, and then likely passing it to an outside consultant just for, legal consistency review and any other, insights to best practices and things like that, that we could accomplish that, late winter, while we're still going through the extra 3 or 4 zoning code study sessions month after month, which I think are now slated to run through March or April, that we could probably get this done and adopted so that we can align that before we release the updated public review draft of zoning code.
Do we have any questions from the board at this time? Any questions? No. Supervisor Cox?
So the sample that you put in the backup showing what Humboldt County has in place,
Yes.
is that there because that is sort of you've looked at several neighboring counties and how they implement this. Humboldt was, I think, presented because much of their sort of topography is, sort of unique and interesting like ours, but I guess what I'm wondering is, did you land here as adding to this to the backup to say, this is the model that we would really like to go after? Or was it more like, here's how you can expand your thinking to understand what I'm talking about?
Well, I think that, as far as just like a very functional template for a guidance document that both serves staff and the public and sets expectations, I think this is a great layout and format and would certainly improve our process, across the board. One of the tidbits that I've gathered and I presented to the California Licensed Surveyors Association Shasta Cascade region meeting a couple months back now. And essentially the surveyors that are likely going to work in Trinity County either do the bulk of their work in Humboldt or in Shasta. And so I think one of the suggestions was trying to align to one of our neighboring counties in terms of their process, so that our process is reasonably comparable to an existing process that they're familiar with. I don't think we're tied necessarily to going the Humboldt County route, but either way, I think that, that would be functional, given that we're going to be bringing, the surveyors that are going to be doing work. Many of them might be out of county. but, doing the bulk of their work in Shasta or Humboldt,
Mhm.
so.
Very good. That's reasonable.
And so you're feeling comfortable that you can handle the work in-house
I think-
predominantly?
Yeah, I think at least to put together a rough draft, I would expect that we would put the consultant piece, the final review piece out for bid with an RFP. So that might be something that if the board wants to, move in the direction of the hybrid approach, that we hurry up and get done. Detail the scope of work a little bit more clearly and get that out. And then, yeah, over the upcoming, handful of months or so, I think that we can reasonably use one of the other adjacent jurisdictions' existing practices as a functional template. And it's more than just aligning our concepts and terminology. Again, with the updates to zoning code, if we weren't involved with that, we would want to make sure that it was aligned with our current zoning code. But running them together and not having one drag behind the other significantly will be the best for overall clarity in the process.
And you said April to start the RFP process for that consultant?
I mean, I would think we would want to do that. We would want to probably get it to the consultants and try and have it more or less in its finishing stages by April. We'll still see as we go forward what we're looking like from a realistic timeline for zoning code, but ideally we want to track them as best as we can in tandem.
Sounds reasonable. Any further questions from the board?
I would like to know, where would the money for this come from? A general fund? I assumed, because it's not a fee-based thing and it's not general plan and, okay.
General fund, right?
I see it. Department Head Caucus have his hand raised.
Hello. We selected the Humboldt County Surveyor's Guide because the Humboldt County Surveyor is also the chair, or was the chair, for the County Engineers Association for the county surveyors. So he's more in line of what's going on, and they have a more complete survey document than other counties. And this is what most counties have adopted. They just adopted it for themselves.
And could I have a little better understanding when you talk about you get it to that point where it just needs legal oversight to make sure there's internal consistency? That's not something that a member of Prentice Long can do because there isn't that specialized capability within that firm, or it just needs to go through an RFP process and perhaps they would do that, but it's not something that we could do just because we already have someone in place?
That is a potential option. I think we're sort of, just formalizing this concept and we can certainly look into all of the potential options going forward, and try and find that most cost effective. But to the question of whether that's covered under the general retainer or how that works contractually with Prentice Long, I don't have the answer to that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's covered under the general retainer, but it's work we could do.
So there would need to be an RFP and you may choose to
think that's
to respond to it.
Right.
Got it.
Do we have any further questions? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing none in the room, any online?
I have no raised hands.
Okay, we will now entertain a motion on this item.
Isn't this just
Really just
direction?
Oh, or I'm
direction-
sorry.
direction
I
just-
apologize. Do we have direction anyone would like to bring forward? I would like to respect the request of staff for the kind of the hybrid approach, if that what you feel is moving forward with trying to do our best in-house, but then also having consultants online as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at it from a fiscal perspective, that's definitely the most resource efficient path forward.
The only thing I would just add is, I sent over a number of questions and we had some just back and forth about it, but I just hope that this can be done with a couple of things with the board to be aware of. One is the board, this group is stepping up to own this, which I think is great, in the midst of what we just heard is the most extensive, engaged general plan zoning code update process that our consultants have ever worked on. So we already are doing a heavy lift that, yes, it's heavy on the consultants, but it's heavy on this team. And then, so when we hear these dates and everything else, I think they are optimistic dates, and to acknowledge that and to not hold them to them so specifically, just because I think that's fair based on what they're volunteering to step up for, if you will. And then the other thing is, I really want to encourage that it be part of a bigger picture process, if you will, initiative, perhaps to update our entire approach. So we've talked in this room and again in my email exchanges about there's tools out there that can be used where the public can engage. It automatically routes things to the right people. It automatically references updated documentation and standards and ordinances. And so they get a lot of feedback right up front before it even talks to somebody. Then when it comes in, it automatically goes to all those people. Then when they have to do the work, it automatically records their step and who are we waiting on? And you can track the time that things are taking, all those kinds of things. So I think that is another part of this process, and engaging in tracking, because we hear these horror stories of, oh, I've been working on this subdivision project for 12 years, but we don't ever know really, unless you have some investigation. Well, was that 11 years of the applicant sitting, waiting to deliver on something they were asked to do? Or was it 11 years of waiting on staff? We don't know, and that's why I'm saying, I think it's the bigger picture that we need to do. If we ever want to get to this place where Trinity County is seen as, oh, we love doing work in Trinity County. They've got their act together, it's streamlined, they give great advice, the technical group comes together and they give us this collaborative view, cohesive view. So I hear the piece parts coming together. I just hope that we're approaching this as a cohesive initiative, and this is one part. And it's an important part that I know when Drew and Trent and I have talked about it is, do you put a lot of effort into introducing automation and platforms to talk to old, outdated code? Or do you wait until you have the new? So I just want to put that out there that we don't lose sight of the bigger picture.
And yeah, just to, if I may respond to that a little bit. We are working on, and we did budget for some improvements to the permitting software that we use for the community development department. So that is an ongoing objective, and that does align well with overall process improvements and making sure that we're leveraging technology to create efficiencies rather than having technology poorly set up and create more inefficiencies for us. So that's happening. And then to the, concerns that we've heard about projects taking far too long. We just recently finalized probably our longest standing subdivision project, and that's now complete. There is a lot of back and forth that I've witnessed between the county surveyor and the private surveyor, and that often creates significant delays depending on the potential disagreement that occurs between those parties. But for that, exceptionally long-standing subdivision project, they requested, if I'm not mistaken, 3 two-year extensions. So part of that extended timeline was them asking for more time to complete what they needed to do from a conditions of approval perspective. And our current queue of subdivision projects on planning's plate, most of which are back in the applicant's court, are all from 2025. So we're no longer dragging forward, 8-year-old projects. The oldest one is 2307, and that's the project number, so from 2023, and that one's nearly completed. So all in all, we have 7 projects on the books for subdivisions currently. 6 of them are from 2025. So we've definitely cleaned it up in the last couple of years, and I think this will help to create, some of those additional improvements. The other thing I wanted to add to, just from a timeline perspective for you guys to understand, is that when we talk through staff capacity, I think one of the reasons that we landed on trying to prioritize this and move this along over the next handful of months is that as we get into, let's say, the second half of 2027, once zoning code is adopted, then staff is going to be inundated with the 10,000 plus rezones. So ideally, we want to get this queued up and ready to be adopted, concurrently, or at least not dragging behind the adoption of zoning code, because then we likely will not have sufficient staff capacity to do all those rezones and deal with updates to subdivision code at the same time.
Understood.
So realizing that these are general fund dollars in order to support this. And I hear Supervisor Weiler saying, okay, don't be so rigid that you hold them to this April or whatever it is if needed. I get that. But I also heard you say, and kind of repeated now, that finishing 17 is dependent on 16 feeding into it. So
Yeah, for a functional and well-aligned process to exist, which I think is the goal,
Mhm.
they need to work together.
right?
Yep.
Love to hear that there aren't myriads of projects in the queue. Love to hear that that was cleaned up. But would like to be kept abreast as to how it's going between now and like February, maybe not April. Because I did have one sort of suggestion, if needed, would we consider maybe bringing on some part-time temporary staff to assist in the process if that becomes something that would get us to our goal? I don't want to see stuff sort of fizzle and fade and not get done. And with that, I just want to say how sort of fun it was to read this Humboldt County example. It just felt like, how cool could it be if that was us?
Yep.
I would also like to request that, or maybe just sort of out loud agree that it's a shared goal that when we have somebody come forward with a project and when a subdivision, review team sits down or a TAC team that gets formed and it all comes together, that yes, there can be an applicant say, I kind of changed my mind, or I want more time to do whatever. That's fine, because that's the individual that's wanting to do the project, they can do what they want to do. But as a county response to that, I'm hoping that our shared goal is that there won't be changes. Well, we didn't see this before. We're adding this now. These are the sort of the horror stories that we hear, and the actual truth of all that. I mean, there's 3 sides to every story, right? Which I don't know what the other sides were, but just having a goal that those would all go away and that the streamlined process gets us all on a page where it is just so smooth.
Yeah, I think this type of guidance document will definitely help to keep us there.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So are we consistent with our direction, or did you have a comment? Anyone further comment?
We're good.
Okay. All right. Direction has been given. Thank you. Thank you. We will now adjourn the Trinity County Board of Supervisors meeting for today. Thank you, everyone.